Hello. Sorry I can't be with you tonight, but I had a baby. So I thought I would try to present my lesson in this fashion. Looking at my laptop here, walking through my lesson. Our unit was titled Conflicts in Southeast Asia and Within the Individual. And our overarching questions were really what were we fighting for globally, and what kind of conflict does that cause? And in terms of global external conflicts, how does that create internal conflicts with individuals? So, over the course of the entire year, the English unit essential question has been, how does American literature depict our nation during conflict? So the Southeast Asia conflict fits nicely with that, and these are our juniors, so they are about to embark on the college search as seniors. So we begin that process in the last quarter of their junior year, so they start to have to deal with the internal conflicts that they are personally dealing with, and how things beyond their control, external conflicts, may affect their internal conflicts. So we try to address that as we go through this unit. Overall, the students should be able to identify the various conflicts, understand the personal conflict of the of what America faced during this time period, and understand the authorial choices based on the book The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien, and how various points of view change a particular conflict or resolve a particular conflict. So their ultimate performance task was to take one of the stories from The Things They Carried and retell it from a different character's perspective, the student being that different character, creating some sort of like video pictorial with music and just the same story from a different perspective, so the students get an idea of how individuals all deal with different conflicts, or rather the same conflict, in different fashions. So then the 4 lessons that I put together for this unit were called The Camera at War, which is a documentary about the Vietnam photographers and what kind of conflict they had to deal with while they were photographing the war, and how true those photographs were. That's a very popular motif throughout Tim O'Brien's story. You know, how true is this story? Is it real? Is what's more real, fiction or nonfiction? So for these photographers, was the story that was told in their photograph, was it true? Was it manipulated in some way? Did it change the perspective at all from other people's points of view after they saw the photographs, and also how the photographers dealt with having to photograph the tragedies without ever having to put their cameras down. So there's a persuasive argument element here about, what is the role of the photographer, and how they dealt with that as they went through the Vietnam War experience. The next lesson is about media bias and how we are manipulated by the media, and how that can stir up more conflict than it really needs to stir up, or maybe perhaps resolve a conflict. So in terms of the Vietnam War, there was a lot of media bias, not just the Vietnam War, but nevertheless, this was our unit. So a lot of bias, a lot of manipulation by the media, and we just asked students to take a look at that and consider the effect of media's word choice, diction, connotative meanings of things, and how that manipulates our opinion of something. The next one was the reading called Field Trip. It was Tim O'Brien, the character from The Things They Carried, not the author of The Things They Carried. And he had gone back to Vietnam to resolve his own personal conflict regarding a particular issue, and he took his daughter Kathleen with him, and she was about 10. So there's that you know, white girl perspective of now I'm in Vietnam and what's this place and why does my dad feel the need to go here, and I don't get his conflict and I don't understand. So there's that diversity piece of it wasn't something that I had to deal with, so why do I have to even bother understanding him? Him and his daughter have some conversations about how she thinks he's weird. And so we deal a lot with that. Like, how do we understand our parents? Do we need to understand our parents? What if we went to a different place that was foreign to us? What's really more foreign, our parents or the foreigners in that place? Do we embrace the culture? Do we bother to get to know it? How important is that? And the final lesson plan is called The Return of the Sweetheart of the Song Trebong. It is essentially about a girlfriend that was brought over by one of the soldiers, and she leaves him for the jungle. It's kind of funny, actually. She just, you know, goes in the jungle and starts like hunting lions and tigers, and very unwomanly of her, but nevertheless, she ditches said high school boyfriend and goes off into the jungle. So after the students read the story, they have to take a, 30 years later perspective. What was her version of the story? Why did she leave? What happened in the meantime? Why is she coming back? So on and so forth. So again, it's a little bit of a different perspective on the gender role, the women's role, the man's role, women in combat, that kind of thing, so on and so forth. And, why did she do what she did? Sort of like her chance to tell her version of the story. So following that is just the basic, calendar of all of the other things that we do. We look at Vietnam protest songs. We start to have kids reflect personally on their own internal issues at the time. And we just deal a lot with the truth in a story and how characters try to resolve their conflicts as they play out, while the external conflict of the global conflict is also playing out. So that's all my stuff. I hope you guys are good, and see ya.